We're 90 days before an election. The FBI sent agents to the home of a former president, the leading contender to be the nominee for 2024, and I want to know why. I said two things. Nobody's above the law, but the law needs to be above politics. So if you're a Republican conservative and you hear the FBI is going after Trump again, it sounds alarm bells. This is the same organization that obtained warrants against Carter Page in the Russian investigation that were so flawed the court rebuked the Department of Justice. This is the same FBI that had agents in charge of investigations of Trump that ignored every exculpatory matter and assumed the worst. The question is, was this necessary? Did they work with the Trump family and organization in a fashion to avoid having to do the raid? I don't know, but here's what I do know. I know doing this 90 days before an election reeks of politics. I know this is a dangerous precedent to set. And at the end of the day, there's a tremendous burden on the Department of Justice, in my view, to explain their actions, and I hope they will. I talked to the president just about an hour ago with Henry. The one thing I can tell you is that I believed he was going to run before. I'm stronger in my belief now. Every Republican I've talked to, my phone has been lit up. What the hell are these people doing? Can you imagine if the roles were reversed here? This happened in the Trump world against a prominent Democrat. So the bottom line here is there's a lot of accountability to be had in the past. The person who altered the warrant application, the lawyer, received a 1-year probationary sentence, is back to practicing law. So yeah, I'm very worried that the politics of the past may have risen their head again, but time will tell. I would say that you don't do things before election unless you have to. And I want to know what led to this. I think every Republican believes that the FBI, when it comes to Trump and other organizations, have lost their mind. That the FBI protects us against child pornography, against crime. My problem is not with the FBI writ large, but I have lived through this. I have seen the Mueller investigation and their work product. And what I saw was a system trying to get somebody no matter what the evidence told them. I can promise you every stop sign that was there was ran in the Mueller investigation and Crossfire Hurricane, that the FBI analyst in charge of collecting information to prepare the warrant application is also in charge of the Hunter Biden investigation. So yeah, I'm concerned, I'm worried, and I think we need answers in an appropriate fashion. We're 90 days before a major election, and this seems to be unnerving, dangerous, ill-advised, and the country's divided enough, so I think we need some answers. We have institutions in this country, and there's a lack of faith in many of them for a reason. But here's what I would say. I would say that we need to go to the ballot box to take out our frustrations, that Republicans like myself, I supported the Mueller investigation. I actually introduced legislation with Democrats to make sure that special counsels couldn't be fired without cause, because I do believe in the idea of oversight and transparency, and nobody's above the law. Well, what did I learn from the Mueller investigation? The FBI, when it comes to Trump, has lost their way. This unending desire to destroy Trump and his family is frustrating. President Trump and I got started off kind of tough, but I admired him as president. I don't agree with everything he says or does. I've talked to him twice today, and I told him that, there's legal systems in this country, avail yourself of it, and time will tell as to what's going on. But to those who feel like you need to violently react, the answer is don't. What you need to do is you need to make sure you show up and vote to stop some of this madness. And we do have a legal system in this country, and we'll get to the bottom of it like did with Mueller investigation. And here's what I think. I think President Trump is determined now more than ever to straighten this country out. Henry and I both talked to him. I've talked to him twice today. He believes the country's going in the wrong direction. Everything he's done has been undercut. The border was secure. Now it's just a complete, absolute nightmare. The economy is in tatters. You had a withdrawal from Afghanistan that's just become a nightmare. You got Russia invading Ukraine, trying to rewrite the map of Europe. You got Taiwan being encircled by the Chinese. Other than that, things are going great. I think this president, President Trump, is going to push through this. I think the Department of Justice has a heavy burden here. So to those Americans who are worried, stay focused, reject violence, and we will take this as far as we need to take it. I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I had to vote on certifying an election. This is ridiculous. This weaponization of the law needs to stop. So I will use the courts, and we'll go as far as we need to go and do whatever needs to be done to make sure that people like me can do their job without fear of some county prosecutor coming after you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Secretary Becerra. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you coming before the committee. To start off, as a Secretary of Health and Human Services, can you define for this committee what is a man?
You're looking at one.
Great. So you are a man. I like that. Can you tell me, can men get pregnant?
Unless you know something I don't, I think the answer is pretty obvious.
What is that answer, sir?
I'm asking you, is there something you know that I don't know that would say that a man...
Well, I'm asking what you know. Can men get pregnant?
I'm not aware of it.
Okay. Well, Mr. Secretary, materials coming from your department, you've referred to mothers as birthing persons, replacing that title with...
Are mothers not persons?
Mothers are persons, but it seems to be more inclusive, like you're trying to include another gender in that.
I'm all about inclusion, Congresswoman.
There you go. Well, you know, just as a mother of 4 boys, I'm not necessarily offended at that. I am a person, but it's just unscientific and absurd.
How so?
To include men in that. If you're going to be inclusive, if you're going to be inclusive in birthing persons, yes.
Well, but it seems to me that you're trying to define the term.
Reclaiming my time. Can men get pregnant? So then we don't need to include them in this. Mothers are mothers. Moving forward, Mr. Secretary, I want to read for you from a document from your office, the Office of Population Affairs. It says in here, and I quote, "Gender-affirming care encompasses many facets of healthcare needs and support. It has been shown to increase positive outcomes for transgender and non-binary children." Mr. Secretary, what is a transgender child?
A child in America is a child in America, and I hope you and I can love that child just as much as we
Can you
love our own
define what a
children.
transgender child is?
That's a child in America, and it's an American citizen child who needs the services and love just the way any other child does.
Mr. Secretary, do you believe that a child is capable of making life-altering decisions to maim themselves?
So let me just say to you that I don't agree with your premise, but what I will say to you is children know much about themselves, and with the help of their...
Do you believe that children are capable of making the decision to self-mutilate?
Again, I don't necessarily accept the
Well,
premise of your
Mr. Secretary,
question.
I mean, you have gender-affirming care for young people, so this is something that you
I don't
have looked
equate
over.
gender-affirming care to mutilation. So if that's where you're going, then you're not going to get the answer you want.
So, Mr. Secretary here, can you tell me if there have been mastectomies, penectomies, or hysterectomies on children?
Well,
And have taxpayers funded that?
so I could probably use the help of my wife, who's an OBGYN, who could talk more, or maybe Dr. Burgess could help us out here.
For gender-affirming care, to be included in that?
I'm sorry, pose the question one more time, please.
In this gender-affirming care, Mr. Secretary, have there been tax dollars put forward to fund mastectomies, penectomies, and hysterectomies for sex reassignment purposes for minors with gender dysphoria?
So Americans are entitled to receive healthcare services. If they are entitled to receive any of the services that you just mentioned, then it would be against the law for us to try to deny them that care.
So for the record, you favor HHS's funding being able for sex reassignment, for surgeries on minors.
I will do everything I can to defend any American, including children, whether or not they fit the categories you have mentioned or not. And if they talk about gender-affirming care, I am there to protect the rights of any American.
Mr. Secretary, I want to turn to a different document. Your office released this gender-affirming care is trauma-informed care. In this document, you clearly state that gender-affirming care includes puberty blockers, hormones, and surgeries for minor children. You go on to assure parents that there is no scientifically sound reason to doubt hormones and surgeries are helpful to minor children. You also discuss this in a document that the potential for removing children from their parents is on the table if they're not providing gender-affirming care. Mr. Secretary, do you think that parents who believe in two genders only should have their children removed from them?
Mr. Secretary, you can answer or respond in writing. Her time has expired.
I can respond very quickly. Congresswoman, I believe in supporting and protecting transgender youth. I believe that they, along with their parents and their caregivers, will make the best decisions. And I would really urge that politicians like you stay out of their business.
I would urge that children get to stay with their parents. No matter
Gentlewoman's
what
time has
parents-
expired. The committee
Mr. Chairman,
will...
may I please have unanimous?
No, you can't. No, you may not. We're on a very tight time frame, and there are
Enter
votes
this into
being
the
called.
congressional record.